Welcome to Global Education webinar powered by Global Finance Board.
In today's session, we are going to learn about global volunteer sustainability, and at the end of the session, you will come to know that we are supporting our Finance Standard 6, that is sustainability. I am Mayank Patel from India. Right now, I am serving as a knowledge manager in the Global Finance Board and also project manager for Global Education webinar. I eat chocolates a lot. I'm foodie. I do a lot of adventures. I did my education, like my graduation and masters from accounting and finance from the University of Baroda.
Hey guys, I'm Michael, as I said, from Germany. I'm currently MCVP Finance and Legal of Isaac in Germany. I'm 26 and I studied, also graduated my master's at financial and supply chain management. Right, jump into the content. What is the webinar about? It's all about further sustainability and especially GEW sustainability. And for that, we first will get an introduction what actually further sustainability is. Then we have a look at the sustainability of GEW, and afterwards we're gonna do a short analyze of like the global reality, and we give you guys a tool to where you can think about your own sustainable, or where you can check how sustainable you are running your product. And then afterwards we have space for Q&A. Cool. So the thing about sustainability is it's like super important, super valuable finance standard, but it's the one that is also the one that is the hardest to achieve because it comes the last. Not like any other standards, you cannot say like, okay, I do this, I've checked it, nice, done, I'm gonna continue. But like sustainability is like the end if you like do proper, another attendance. If you do work properly in finance and fulfill all the other finance standards. So about sustainability, it's people think it's like, yeah, I kind of play around with it and somehow at the end I will achieve sustainable growth of my entity, but it's actually not the case. So like I hate playing games. I'm super bad at it, and I also don't like to do this with our finances, or would like not to do it in case of sustainability. Because even though sustainability is something that is like super hard to track, super hard to figure out, because you can never really figure out where to start, because it's not that as graspable as, like, for example, the other finance standards. So when you think you already got some things figured out, then suddenly there comes up something else that is all in your way. So when you thought like, I took care of this, now actually should everything be fine? Oh no, damn it, we are again doing a loss with our products for every exchange we're doing. So it's like a constant battle finding those little things that actually like contributing that you are able to run your businesses in a sustainable way. But it's always like when you figure out you had something, then it's always going to always get a step back. I hope, and in the end, it feels like for me, or did in the past, it's almost impossible to figure it out. Because as I said, sustainability is not as graspable as the other finance standards, and therefore like super hard to figure out. I hope you guys, or like not I hope, but I think some of you can also identify with this. But we're going to show you how, with what tools and what measures and so on, you can kind of win this battle. And
want to achieve sustainability, there is a precondition that you need to comply, you need to implement all the finance standards that you have. So it's like you need to implement finance standard 1 to 5, then only you can achieve sustainability, then only you can think of achieving sustainability. So it's a wider scope that this standard has, and that is the reason that if you guys see that I have taken 3 sessions in Global Education webinar, and all the 3 sessions are at then supporting sustainability. So sustainability is my personal favorite finance standard, that I believe that is what take us to the more future, like bright future of any entity, this ripple effect. So how can you define the sustainability. So you cannot say that sustainability is just a result of one event or it's just one thing that you can measure, but it's a collection of many other things that is happening, and it's a result of that all activity which lead you to the compilation of achieving sustainability. And to know that how you can achieve sustainability, you need to follow some checkpoints. You need to understand that what are the multiple things that you need to comply. And here we have checklist that you can see if you are doing if you are going through this checklist, and you will figure it out that yeah, you are now on the way to achieving sustainability. So when we talk about sustainability, let's assume that ISEC is an organization. Instead of you imagine that what we sell, so we have some products. Imagine it's a fruits. So these are the three kind of fruits that ISEC is selling to the customers. And here we see that fruit number one, that is GB, Global Volunteer, and then we have G2 like GE and GT. So in total, ISEC have three products that we sell to the customers. Let me tell you guys, even like this session is something that can give you better understanding of overall organizations. It's not that how you just manage finance, but it will give you the how you can manage the operations. So it's more about if you understand this session better, you can actually help out the operational people. So I think that's what the strategical things that as a CFO you can help out to your entity. So just assume that these are the three products that you are selling in the organization, and one of that product is making loss, or maybe you are not able to provide that product at the cost that customer can afford, and you are selling at a rate that it does not cover your cost. So this is the product that I'm talking about, Global Volunteer. Yeah, and this is the general problem in ISEC, that Global Volunteer program is not sustainable, and that is the reason that we have kept this topic in this global education webinar, to make sure that we have better understanding, better knowledge, to make sure that how can we get it, how can we achieve the sustainability. And here, to achieve this financial sustainability, we will have a task which will be explained by Michael. So make sure that you are paired up for group activity because now Michael will take you to some situations where you understand that how your thought process work and how you think that what is a different scenario that make level 1 sustainability, level 2 sustainability. So Michael, can you explain my team?
Sure. So what we're gonna do now is like we have different scenarios of different entities, and something is like not really correct in there. And I would ask you to either write in the chat or use the speaking function, where you can also talk to us and just tell us like what do you think it's wrong in this scenario. We do not that many people here, like I would say we do this all together. So we have here then imagine an entity with like these costs, these costs and incomes, and I would like to ask you like what can you say is wrong with IGV product of this entity? There's a question. I don't know what SU stands for. It's just like in this case appreciation for some. Let's see. It's just like an income, the name of the income account. Very general, like not right here. Please look at the total cost and income. Maybe quite obvious, right? So cost is more than income. So what is like in this entity happening is like with every exchange they're doing, they're making a loss. And this is also like what is the case currently in many other entities. So currently we are losing money for every IGV we are approving, and the income of the product are not even covering its costs. So what we can do is like either we can cut expenses or we can increase our income, or both together, of course, as well. But we definitely need to change something. Then next scenario is this one. What do you say is wrong here with the product of this entity? Not wrong, but like not perfectly fine. And so here, these are direct costs in a sustainable level 1, as direct income is smaller than direct cost. Exactly. So it's fine. The only thing you could discuss about is like that the income for IGV in this case is significantly higher than its costs, and we as an NGO are like striving for like not making a profit but having an impact. So you could argue about if like even generating too much income, but in general, like completely right, it's fulfilling sustainability level 1 due to it covering its direct costs. Let's move on. This is what I just said. Like your product costs need to be lower than your product income, so you can at least cover the direct costs you're doing with every exchange you do and reach sustainability level 1. Cool. Next one. What do you think here? What is wrong here? And so here the entity has the product unsustainable as the indirect costs entity is more like income. Something we should always take into consideration because our product is not an independent project. Exactly. So here, like we now take also like the indirect costs into account, and then we directly see, okay, our product is not sustainable anymore due to adding these indirect costs. So, oops. This is a big mistake happening. Also, like we're having some examples later, like that we're just having a look at the direct costs that our products are causing. I think like, okay, we can cover them with our product income, but we're having actually a huge amount of indirect costs like HR costs, rents, whatsoever, that is like screwing it up for many entities on sustainability level 2, not achieving it. So then having a look here, this is actually like how an entity should look like. The best case, made super easy, like we have indirect and direct costs, the indirect costs allocated based on the exchange performance of the product. And we're having an income for, in this case, IGV, which is like a bit higher than our costs. So this ensures that we really can run our operations sustainable. It's like we always need to put, as I said, the indirect costs into account, and we really need to consolidate, in this case, all of IGV incomes, and need to make sure that they're greater than the costs of IGV and the indirect costs that are like happening anyways. So our saw it here in the chat, like we don't derive sustainable level 2, also Taiwan GE conditions. I often have the feeling that actually it's true that like every product, every entity is facing a different reality, also a different finance reality. Therefore, it's super important to have a look at your reality independently and to review it independently. But we can support you in this so that you don't have just like be completely alone with it and have to review it alone with it. We will provide you guys with some tools that will at least help you to get a bit better glimpse into your financial reality of your entity. So that even though they are super different and super, like you need to look at them independently, we would like to give you some basic tools that you guys can use in order to ensure sustainability of the products in your entity.
Hello everyone. So the global reality and analysis. So let's take a look at some numbers. Now we're going to talk about product sustainability, of course, because Global Volunteer is a product. There are two main levels that we need to think of. First is, are the incomes of your product enough to cover all costs associated? Meaning, are the direct revenues or direct incomes greater than the direct costs that is directly related to the global volunteer projects or events or initiatives, or how to do the operations itself. The level 2, which is the more important one, is, are the incomes of your product enough to cover all direct costs plus indirect costs? Indirect costs meaning These are costs that are not directly associated with the exchange operations, but they are necessary to keep the organization alive. For example, overhead, PR campaigns, usually as well international summits participation. So last Q3 2017, this is the chart of percentage of number of entities per region achieving the sustainability. So we are basing this on level 1 and 2, which are represented by the orange and gray bars. And you can see 5 bar graphs, which are represented by the 4 regions plus a consolidated data for the global. This shows that for the Americas, there is 60% of entities achieve core performance, meaning core performance is the ratio between exchange revenue and total revenue. So this means Americas, 60% of the total revenue is composed of exchange. 70% of the entities achieve sustainability level 1, and only 25% of the entities achieve sustainability level 2. That means that between 7 to 10 entities of Americas achieve level 1, and between 1 out of 4 entities in Americas achieve level 2. For Asia Pacific, 38% entities achieve core performance, 75% of the entities achieve sustainability level 1, and 4% of the entities achieve sustainability level 2. I just have to make a quick correction regarding the Americas. 60% of entities achieve core performance. I meant to say 66 out of 10 entities achieve core performance, not 60% of the total revenue is from exchange revenue. Sorry, I just have to clarify that because we are tackling the percentage of number of entities per region, not necessarily how big or how small the margin from their sustainability. For Europe, 34% of the entities achieve core performance, 70% achieve level 1, and 14% achieve level 2. MIA achieved 32% for core performance, 50% for level 1, and 21% for level 2. If you're going to look at it, in terms of level 1, MIA had the lowest achievement, which is 50%, but in terms of the level 2, AP achievement, which is only 4%. This means that even though MIA is, of course, majority of the MIA entities are still small or still trying to engage with exchanges, and of course there is an economic disadvantage as compared to other countries such as in Europe. In terms of their level 2 percentage, there are more entities that are more sustainable in MIA than in AP. In AP, there's only 4%, which is around 1 to 3 entities only in AP. Now, let's talk about the global volunteer sustainability levels, Q3. So, the red ones are negative, so meaning the profitability is lower, and also this means that the direct revenue is lower than the direct cost or direct cost plus indirect cost. For level 1 of IGV Q3, only Americas had a negative as compared where everyone else had positive for level 1. This means Americas cannot is not sustainable in operating GV if you're only going to deduct their direct costs. How much more if you're going to tackle the indirect costs as well, which we will go to IGV level 2. Everyone is at negative, but Americas had the highest number, in terms of for sustainability in IGV. For OGV, everyone had a reasonable high high number in terms of sustainability in OGV, but in terms of level 2, Europe and MEA had a negative, where Europe has 2.0 and MEA has 0.07. Now, there are different ways to solve this puzzle. Remember, sustainability is one of the most complicated and yet important standard out there. Now, these are just some examples. Isaac and Peru focus on pushing culture of collection and sales, because even though that you already have good good exchange numbers and also you achieve your exchange revenue, that wouldn't make sense if you weren't able to collect that revenue in the first place. Isaac Liberia have enablers providing and covering accommodation for EPs. This initiative would, of course, decrease the cost. Most entities increase OGX pricing to generate more cash, and also if you keep your market still at high and satisfied, then you'll have more revenue. Isaac in Nigeria stopped self-run projects to cut costs, except those supported by an enabler. So that means all of the projects must follow the policy that all of them are supported by an enabler. Isaac in Rwanda had to stop paying for trainee flat to avoid LCs going into loss. Isaac in Taiwan got the government to cover the expenses for national project, which is very strategic because there is a huge partner for Isaac in Taiwan, so that their projects would be a lot more sustainable. Besides Taiwan, only Bangladesh doesn't charge EP fee to IGVs. They got fully sponsored by Plan International. Isaac in Italy integrated an investment model in order for LCs to invest in online activity and marketing activity to boost exchange. So they actually integrated this with their OD model and /or membership model. Some entities become sustainable by making their projects revenue generating. So it's not only necessary for event management, but also revenue generating can also apply in IGV. Entities running OGV become more sustainable by focusing on member productivity over financial investments. And Isaac in Slovakia have IGV partners to provide accommodation or look for host. There are some entities who create a surplus budget right before starting every GV projects and cut costs where necessary. This means they are taking advantage of the planning for creating GV. And lastly, some entities had to cut MC positions to reduce indirect costs, but still keeping the focus. So this is strategic if you want to maintain the sustainability level 2. Every decision can benefit or affect a side of the puzzle. Remember, this is the puzzle that we need to think on how to achieve sustainability.
So make sure that you are achieving sustainability through efficient decisions, and to achieve sustainability there is no shortcut, because it's a collection of multiple activities where you achieve the sustainability. So the only thing is you need to have a systematic approach for all the operations and all the things that you need to implement in your entity. And the final message that we have is you need to make sure that your products are really good plan and you are tracking that how it's generating profit, or at least it should be at break even, but it should not have loss. So I mean to say, when you have your sustainability level 1, you should have all direct income at least greater than direct cost. So you need to make sure that if your product is not achieving level 1, you should suspend that product. So this tool will help you out more in understanding the pricing structure that you have and how you can measure the sustainability, and make sure that you invest more time for your team, for your CFOs, so that they ensure the sustainability. So let's have a look on the tool, that the most amazing thing that we have right now for all of you. And Michael has shared the link for this, so you can go to there. What you need to do, you just need to create a new tab from here. We have already some tab created. Rename the tab with your name and the name of the entity, and start filling the data. Here my team will explain you what to fill, how to fill, and let's do it, guys.
Okay, so I will give you a short overview how this tool works, because it looks a bit overwhelming maybe in the beginning, but it's actually like rather easy. So I would ask you to click on this link and then go on the tool. Then create your own tab, or like change the name of already created. And what you can then do is like, you can now, as we talked about, like you have to look at your expenses, you have to look at your incomes and so on. We would like to give you, or like to help you a bit to get an overview of like what actually your direct and indirect costs are. So with this tool, you're like able to get like a first overview of like if your product is run in a sustainable way or not. And what I would ask you to do is like that you fill in the yellow field. The yellow fields will give you need to put in all the information about how much the prices of OGV, for example, how much costs do you have, direct and indirect ones, and out of this tool will calculate to certain ratios. For example, the return on investment of your product, the gross profit, the cost per unit, the break-even point, so the point when you reached enough exchanges so that your product will be sustainable. You have a pricing comparison between the pricing you're currently having and the pricing maybe you could or should have, and then also sustainability level 1 and 2. So what I would ask you to is like on the left hand side, fill in the data. So the first part, put in the exchange goals and current states you're currently having. Then fill in the total indirect costs. The splitting of those indirect costs will do by itself. And then below direct costs and so put there for GV, we're just focusing on OGV and IGV. Put in the product price of each and the product fee and the costs that you're having for every single exchange you're doing. In case you don't have the numbers right now, we also have example data on the right hand side. You just can pick those numbers and pick some random exchange numbers so that you can at least work with the tool and make yourself an overview, and then maybe later when you have the data, put in the actual one. Start filling out the tool in your tab. If you want to see how it could look like, you could also have a look at my tab. It's Michael Germany. And you can see how it could look like. Let's say take yourself like 5 to 10 minutes to filling out the tool and try to answer the following questions. So after you fill out the tool, what can you conduct out of the data? And the question is, are you running GEW successfully in your entity or not? And what could be possible action steps to make GEW sustainable in your entity in case it's not the case yet? If you have currently no data available, as I said, you can use example data. My suggestion is play a bit around with this tool because it gives you like a good first overview of like how it's about the sustainability in your product. And if you don't have the concrete numbers currently here, no problem. You can use also this tool later. Another question, is there a tool to tell the LCs how much indirect costs they are having in this tool? Not directly. So what you can do, you can drag out this information out of Wave. For example, the indirect cost positions like office, HR, legality, national conference traveling, and international conference traveling, visa, and all those can be dragged out quite good out of your accounting system. And then what you just need to do is like also fill in the exchanges you want overall want to achieve or what you overall plan with, and then this tool allocates the indirect costs to different functions. But a direct tool of where to see indirect cost of the assets is not there, but you can track it pretty easily out of your accounting system.
We hope you guys enjoyed the session with us, because here we have all the awesome faces that can guide you more on the specific questions or query that you have.